Have you ever noticed how some moments feel flat until something small flips the switch? Picture this, you're on a date. The conversation is fine, the vibe is polite, but nothing really lands. Then you do one thing right. You slow down, ask a real question, hold eye contact, and actually listen. Her shoulders drop. The air changes. That is the moment most men miss. Arousal for many women is not a sudden spark. It is a safe, steady build. When you understand what needs to happen first, everything after gets easier. In this video, I'll show you how to create the conditions where chemistry stops feeling random and starts feeling repeatable. If you care about your love life, your confidence, and the quality of your relationship, stick with me to the end. Hit subscribe, tap like, and watch all the way through. A few simple shifts can change the way women respond to you and the way you feel about yourself. Point number 1, the 85% gap. Why arousal starts with context. Think back to the last time you were with someone you really liked. Do you remember how the evening began? Maybe you were sitting across from each other at dinner. Maybe you were walking side by side, or maybe you were just on the couch together. At first, the air felt normal, comfortable maybe, but not charged. And then, something shifted. A glance lasted a little longer than usual. A laugh felt warmer. Suddenly, the moment carried weight. Have you ever wondered why that shift doesn't happen right away? Why, for so many women, it takes time before desire even has room to appear. Studies show that around 85% of women don't feel aroused until there's a certain context in place. It's not about rushing into passion, it's about the story leading up to it. Think about it like a song. If you jump straight into the chorus without the build-up, it feels flat. But when the verses slowly create tension, by the time the chorus hits, it moves you. Relationships and intimacy work the same way. For most women, arousal doesn't come from the spark alone. It comes from how safe, seen and understood she feels in those opening verses. So let me ask you, have you ever felt that the best moments in your love life weren't about what you did physically, but about how she felt emotionally in your presence? Maybe it was the way you listened to her without looking at your phone. Maybe it was the way you leaned in and really noticed her, making her feel like the only person in the room. That's the context, the missing piece most men overlook. It's not the kiss itself, but the way the world seems to fade before the kiss even happens. The truth is, the 85% gap isn't a weakness and it isn't a game. It's a reminder that arousal for most women begins in the mind and heart before it ever reaches the body. And when you understand how to create that context, intimacy stops being uncertain and starts becoming inevitable. So what about you? When was the last time you felt a moment shift and you knew something deeper had just begun? Point number 2, safety signals. She feels, not just hears. Think about a time when you told someone, "Don't worry, you're safe with me." Maybe you meant it with your whole heart, but did you notice whether they actually believed it? Words alone don't always land. In love, safety isn't something a woman hears, it's something she feels. Picture this, you're walking together late at night. You say, "It's fine, I'm here," but then you're distracted, looking at your phone, walking a step ahead of her. Even if you mean every word, does she feel safe? Probably not. Now imagine the same moment, but this time you slow down, you stay beside her, you're alert to your surroundings. Your body language is steady and calm. Suddenly, without saying anything, she relaxes. That's a safety signal. Have you noticed how sometimes a single gesture speaks louder than a whole speech? The way you hold her hand firmly instead of loosely. The way your tone softens when she shares something vulnerable. The way you keep your cool when plans fall apart instead of getting frustrated. These are the signals that sink deeper than any reassurance you could say out loud. Ask yourself, when have you felt truly safe with someone? Was it because they promised they'd protect you? Or because their presence made you believe it without question? For most women, this is where attraction quietly begins. Before arousing, before passion, she's scanning. Can I trust this man with my feelings? With my body? With my heart? If the answer is yes, because she feels it, not just hears it, the walls come down. And when the walls come down, that spark you're waiting for has room to catch fire. The truth is, safety isn't a performance. It's the energy you bring, the consistency of your actions, the steadiness of your presence. When you learn to send signals she can feel in her body, you stop convincing and start connecting. And that, more than any clever line, is what opens the door to real intimacy. So think back, what's one moment where your actions, not your words, showed someone they could truly relax with you? Point number 3, presence over performance. Have you ever caught yourself wondering if you're doing enough to impress someone? Maybe you rehearsed the perfect joke, planned the right restaurant, or thought about what move to make next. But then, even after all the effort, something still felt flat. Why is that? It's because women aren't moved by a performance, they're moved by presence. Imagine this. You're sitting across from her at dinner. You're trying to be witty, telling a story you've polished 100 times. She smiles politely, but her eyes drift. Now picture the same dinner, but instead of performing, you're tuned into her. You're noticing how her eyes light up when she talks about something she cares about. You lean in, ask questions that show you're really listening, and the conversation takes a life of its own. In that moment, she doesn't just feel entertained, she feels seen. Have you ever felt the difference yourself? Between someone trying to impress you and someone simply being with you, which one stayed in your memory longer? Presence is magnetic because it can't be faked. It's in the way you pause before answering, the way you hold silence without rushing to fill it, the way your body is relaxed instead of tense with the pressure to get it right. Women feel that energy immediately. And here's the secret. Presence tells her she's enough, that she doesn't need fireworks to earn your focus. She is the focus. Performance might grab attention for a moment, but presence builds connection that lingers. Think about your best memories with someone you cared about. Were they about the clever things they said? Or were they about how deeply you felt understood in their company? When you let go of the need to impress and instead bring your full self into the moment, the atmosphere changes. She doesn't just enjoy your company, she starts to feel drawn into it. That's where desire begins quietly, almost invisibly. So here's a question for you. What would happen if, the next time you were with her, you stopped worrying about the script in your head and simply listened, really listened, as if nothing else in the world mattered? Point number 4. Tension and timing. Slow beats fast. Think about the last time you really looked forward to something. Maybe it was a trip, a gift, or even just seeing someone you hadn't seen in a while. Half the magic wasn't in the moment itself, it was in the build-up, wasn't it? The waiting, the wondering, the anticipation, that's what made the moment unforgettable. Arousal works the same way. For most women, it isn't about racing to the destination. It's about the slow unfolding, the pauses, the tension, the space where imagination gets to play. Picture this, you lean in too quickly for a kiss. It's fine, maybe even sweet, but it doesn't leave a trace. Now picture instead that you hold her gaze a little longer than usual. Your hand brushes hers but doesn't linger. The silence between words grows just slightly heavier. Can you feel how the air changes? That's tension, that's timing, and that's what lingers in her mind long after. Ask yourself, when was the last time you let a moment breathe instead of rushing to fill it? Do you remember how much more powerful it felt? Here's the truth. Moving too fast skips over the most important part, the rise. Desire is like fire. If you throw all the wood on at once, it smothers. But if you feed it slowly, one spark at a time, it grows into something steady and undeniable. Women often say they love the in-between moments, the stolen glances. The light touches that almost, but don't quite go further. The playful tease of what could happen. It's not the act itself that creates the deepest arousal, it's the build-up that leads there. So the next time you're with her, notice your pace. Instead of thinking, what's the next move? Try asking, what if I slowed down and let her feel the moment expand? Because in love, in intimacy, and in connection, slow almost always beats fast. So tell me, do you remember a time when the anticipation felt even more electric than the moment itself? Point number 5. Words that open the door. Have you ever noticed how a single sentence can change the whole atmosphere between two people? It doesn't have to be poetic, rehearsed, or perfect. Sometimes it's the simplest words that unlock the deepest feelings. Picture this, you're sitting with her, maybe on a quiet evening, maybe after a long day. She shares something small, how her week has been, how she's feeling. And instead of brushing past it, you say, tell me more. 3 little words, but suddenly the room feels different. She opens up, her guard softens, and the conversation flows somewhere more real. That's the power of words that open, not close. Think about your own experiences. Has there ever been a time when someone said something to you that made you feel instantly safe, understood, or wanted? It wasn't the exact phrase, was it? It was the way it made you feel. For women, arousal is deeply tied to emotion, and emotion is often unlocked through words. But not just any words, the ones that invite, not demand. I love the way you think. I notice how hard you try. I feel good just sitting here with you. These are doorways. They tell her without pressure, you matter. I see you. Now ask yourself, do your words create space or do they try to control the moment? Do they pull her closer or do they make her feel cornered? When your words come from curiosity and appreciation, they create a current that pulls her in naturally. You don't have to push. You don't have to force. It happens because she wants to walk through that open door. And here's the secret most men miss. It's not about saying something clever. It's about saying something true. Women can feel the difference instantly. Authentic words make her lean in. Empty ones make her pull away. So maybe the real question is this. If you stopped trying to find the right line and instead spoke the truth of the moment, what doors might open that you've never walked through before? Point number 6. Micro choices that build trust. Trust doesn't arrive all at once. It's not a grand speech, a dramatic gesture, or a promise carved in stone. More often, it's built in the smallest, almost invisible choices you make over and over again. Think about this. You're on a date and her phone buzzes. You could lean over and glance, even jokingly, but you don't. You give her space. Or maybe you're walking together, and instead of rushing ahead, you slow your steps to match her pace. Little things, quiet things, yet they send a message louder than words. You can relax with me. Have you ever had someone earn your trust not through what they said, but through the way they consistently showed up? Maybe it was a friend who always remembered the details you shared, or someone who stayed calm when you were vulnerable instead of brushing you off. Those tiny moments add up, don't they? For women, those micro choices matter even more. She notices if you keep your word, even in small things. She notices if you listen without interrupting, if you put the phone down when she's talking, if you handle setbacks with patience instead of frustration. Each choice whispers the same thing. I'm steady. I'm safe. You can lean into this. The truth is, attraction without trust is fragile. It burns bright for a second, then fizzles. But attraction built on trust? That's what deepens, what lingers, what makes her feel not just desired but cherished. So let me ask you, what tiny choice did you make in your last relationship, or even your last date, that you think might have spoken louder than any grand gesture? Did you even realize she noticed? Because here's the beautiful part. You don't have to be perfect or larger than life. You just have to be consistent in the small things. Those micro choices are the bricks that quietly build the foundation for intimacy. And when that foundation is strong, everything else stands taller, steadier, and more lasting. Point number 7, polarity with respect and warmth. Think back to a moment when you felt undeniable chemistry with someone. Do you remember how it wasn't just about what they looked like, but about the energy between you? That invisible pull, that spark you couldn't quite explain. That's polarity. Polarity is the dance of opposites, the charge between masculine and feminine energy. It's what makes a simple look across the room feel electric. But here's the part many men miss. Polarity without respect is manipulation, and polarity without warmth feels cold. The real magic is when strength and softness meet in the same space. Picture this, you're confident, steady, sure of yourself. You make the plans, you lead with clarity, but at the same time you treat her with genuine warmth. You listen, you value her perspective, you never make her feel small. Suddenly she feels both safe and excited. That's when attraction deepens into something real. Have you ever been around someone who carried authority but also made you feel deeply respected? Didn't it make you want to lean into their presence even more? That's the exact balance women are craving. A man who doesn't collapse into passivity, but also doesn't bulldoze with dominance. The truth is, polarity thrives when there's contrast. The firmness of your boundaries paired with the softness of your care. The decisiveness of your choices paired with the openness to her feelings. When she feels that mix, she doesn't just feel aroused, she feels safe to surrender into the connection. So let me ask you, what would it feel like for you to fully embody that balance? To stand tall in your strength but wrap it in warmth? To lead with confidence but make her feel cherished at the same time? That's the kind of polarity that doesn't fade. It doesn't just spark in the beginning, it sustains. It grows, it keeps pulling her back to you, again and again. Point number 8, the flip. Sustaining the spark once it starts. Think about the very first spark you've ever felt with someone. The way your stomach flipped, the way your heart raced, the way the world suddenly felt sharper and more alive. That spark is unforgettable. But here's the question. How do you keep it alive once it begins? For many men, the mistake comes after the spark. They think, okay, I've got her attention, now I can relax. But attraction isn't something you win once and keep forever. It's something that needs to be nurtured. Like a flame that burns brighter when you feed it just enough air. Picture this. She's opening up, leaning into the connection. Instead of rushing into routine, you stay curious. You keep surprising her, not with grand gestures, but with genuine presence. You text her something thoughtful out of the blue. You remember the tiny details she mentioned in passing. You keep the playfulness alive instead of letting comfort turn into complacency. That's what sustains the spark. Have you ever had a relationship where the beginning felt electric, but over time the excitement faded? What if it wasn't because the spark was gone, but because it wasn't being fed? The flip is this. Once she feels safe, aroused, and connected, the real work is to keep showing up with the same energy that created the spark in the first place. Not by being perfect, not by performing, but by refusing to take her presence for granted. The truth is, women don't just want the thrill of the beginning. They want the security of knowing the spark won't die the moment you have them. And when you sustain it, not only does her attraction grow, but your own sense of passion and purpose in the relationship deepens too. So ask yourself, are you feeding the flame or are you letting it quietly dim? Because the difference between a love that fizzles out and a love that lasts is often found in those daily choices to keep the spark alive. So if you've made it this far, take a moment and really let it sink in. What we've been talking about isn't just about attraction, it's about something much deeper. It's about how presence, trust, timing, and genuine care can turn ordinary moments into sparks that last. It's about learning to connect in a way that feels real, not forced. Maybe as you listened, you thought of moments in your own life, times when the spark was there, or maybe times when it slipped away. That reflection alone means you're already starting to see the patterns, and that's where change begins. I want to thank you for spending this time with me. Every view, every minute you share here tells me you're someone who values growth in your love life and relationships. That makes this more than just a video. It makes it a conversation we're having together. If this resonated with you, I'd love for you to be part of this community. Go ahead and hit subscribe, tap like, and if you feel like it, share your thoughts or stories in the comments. I read them and they're what turned these ideas into something living and real. With that said, thanks for watching and until next time.